We are the undead, immortal. No man can harm us unless he bores a stake through our hearts, or beheads us.
They really don't make them like this anymore. Welcome to Watch Mojo UK, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 Hammer horror films. Before we begin, if you enjoy this video, please subscribe for more great content. For this list, we'll be taking a terrifying look at the finest flicks from Hammer Film Productions, a widely celebrated British production company famed for their groundbreaking efforts in the horror genre. Our picks are based on the overall strength of the movie itself, as well as its legacy in film and pop culture.
The Bride of Chaos!
The Bride of Chaos!
The Rider upon the Beast!
The Rider upon the Beast!
With this knife do I draw out the blood which is thy life.
Number 10, The Plague of the Zombies. When a small Cornish village plays host to a grotesque outbreak of the undead, a local doctor and his friends soon discover that the village's evil squire and his penchant for voodoo are to blame.
Cara nostra, cara estra. Cara nostra, cara estra. Cara nostra, cara estra.
Dripping with tension and atmosphere, this often underrated movie doesn't receive the credit it deserves for its impact on the zombie genre, with its setting, visuals, and overall tone providing an influence for George A. Romero's genre-defying masterpiece, Night of the Living Dead. In short, The Plague of the Zombies is essential viewing for zombie movie diehards. Number 9, Twins of Evil.
You are very beautiful. For you, all pleasures should be supreme.
One of the most original vampire stories from Hammer's vast filmography, Twins of Evil follows the nefarious Count Karnstein, an alluring vampire who plans to seduce the film's titular twins for his own evil ends.
The good and the innocent die.
When one of the girls succumbs to his corruptive influence, however, it's up to their puritanical uncle, played by Hammer horror veteran Peter Cushing, to put a stop to Karnstein's machinations once and for all. With an effectively gothic mood, fun performances, and a tense folk horror vibe, Twins of Evil ranks among the absolute best of Hammer's post-1970 efforts. Number 8, Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde.
You don't think something could be wrong? That we ought to go down there and see that he's...
Susan, isn't one rebuff enough for you?
In an entertaining twist on the classic Jekyll and Hyde story, this unique Hammer tale chronicles the intense tug-of-war between the obsessive Dr. Jekyll and his sinister counterpart after a failed experiment causes the Doctor to develop an evil and enticing female alter ego.
There is something wrong. I just know there is. Something terribly wrong.
The increasingly violent and sexually charged power struggle between the two personalities makes for fun, if sometimes uncomfortable viewing, and it even manages to incorporate both Jack the Ripper and Burke and Hare into its plot. The result is a fresh and memorable take on an age-old story.
He doesn't seem to have got the joke.
Number 7, The Vampire Lovers.
Emma! Mademoiselle Peridot! It was there! It bit me! Look!
Based on Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu's 1870s novella Carmilla, The Vampire Lovers takes on and refines the traditional vampire movie formula. Blood-sucking creatures of the night? Check. Lustful seduction? Check. Stakes and crucifixes? Double check. But by switching the traditionally male villain with a lovely but vicious female vampire, the film avoids feeling like a cheap Dracula knockoff and forges its own engaging identity.
And I don't want anyone taking you away from me.
Taking me away? Who do you mean? You know we'll always be friends, Carmilla.
Full of blood, guts, and of course sex appeal, it's no wonder it did so well upon its initial release, spawning a trilogy of similarly themed movies in its wake.
Carmilla! Take me with you!
Number 6. The Mummy.
Fulfill ye now the will of the Lord God Karnak.
Centered on the legendary horror duo of Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, The Mummy follows Cushing's archaeologist John Banning as he uncovers the tomb of an ancient Egyptian princess, only to find himself on the receiving end of a millennia-old curse in doing so.
Death was not for Charis, nor was life. For his sins he was sentenced to remain for all time on guard near the body of his princess.
Hunted down by Charis, a mummified high priest charged with protecting the princess's remains, Banning and his colleagues try to stop the creature's rampage before becoming the next victim of its gruesome wrath. Fun and frightening in trademark Hammer style, The Mummy is still considered a classic. Number 5. The Gorgon.
It has been said that every legend and myth known to mankind is not entirely without some truth.
Casting aside the universal monsters and well-established creatures so often found in Hammer's films, 1964's The Gorgon opts for something entirely different. Inspired by Greek mythology, the movie sees a small European village fall victim to the eponymous Gorgon, as several citizens are found completely petrified with each full moon.
Doctor, you'll perform an autopsy.
On a body that's turned to stone?
Weaving traditional Hammer horror trappings with tragic romance, well-written characters, and a palpably gothic atmosphere, the film also exhibits a surprising amount of subtlety. Developed storylines override simple scare tactics, so when the shocks do arrive, you genuinely care.
Leave Vandorf before it's too late. What is it you're afraid of? I'm afraid for you.
Number 4. The Curse of the Werewolf.
Christina, do you love me? Will you marry me, Christina? You say you love me, will you marry me?
Starring Oliver Reed in one of his earliest roles, The Curse of the Werewolf is another underrated entry, this time in the werewolf subgenre. Focusing on Leon, the movie's lead lycanthrope, the movie explores his constant struggle for control as he tries to suppress the bloodlust and savagery of his terrifying alter ego.
Help me! Get away! Get away! Get away!
Encouraging us to sympathize with Leon, whose curse dates back to the evil and traumatic circumstances surrounding his birth, the film marks him as a man who was never afforded a normal life, making the climax all the more tragic. Number 3. The Devil Rides Out.
Father of darkness, King of death, I pledge this knife to thee.
Following Christopher Lee's lead as he attempts to extract 2 young initiates from the clutches of a satanic cult, The Devil Rides Out leans heavily into its creepy subject matter, delivering a healthy helping of Hammer's trademark cheese as well as some truly chilling imagery. Fabulously shot with some great performances and a suitably moody setting, the film also tells an engrossing, grandiose story that definitely lives up to Dennis Wheatley's 1934 novel of the same name. Number 2. The Curse of Frankenstein.
Who are you? Tell me who you are. What do you want with me?
The movie which turned Hammer Productions into a household name in the 1950s, The Curse of Frankenstein is where we see Hammer horror brought to life. Perfectly showcasing early Hammer style, it was also the company's first horror film to be released in colour, allowing it to reimagine the well-known Mary Shelley tale. Combining a creepy atmosphere with standout performances, this movie raised the bar for Frankenstein adaptations, marking it as one of the best and most important horror films of its time.
No. Get away from me!
Number 1. Dracula.
I am Dracula, and I welcome you to my house. I must apologize for not being here to greet you personally, but I trust that you have found everything you needed.
The quintessential Hammer horror film, Dracula, or Horror of Dracula as it was retitled in the US, is a definitive moment for vampire movies. Starring, you guessed it, Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee as Van Helsing and Dracula respectively, this truly iconic film manages to be scary, dramatic, provocative and tense, all the while making Dracula the most menacing he's ever been thanks to Lee's pitch-perfect portrayal of the Count.
You can have no idea what an evil man he is. What terrible things he does.
Directed by Terence Fisher, a man responsible for many of Hammer's cinematic highlights, today's winner marks a monumental achievement in horror genre films. Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo UK and subscribe for more